So, good evening. We've got a VOD review tonight for Jacob, and we're going to be doing this on a free enterprise seed. Free enterprise is a fairly unique format that we play here once in a while, where it's kind of the key points are we start with all of our transportation items, airship, canoe, everything we need to get around the map. There's no encounters except for trap tiles. And so these seeds are generally pretty fast. As we go to a party, and feel free to ask any questions here. For free enterprise, I almost always run black belt, especially with the way these flags are set up. Boss HP is 80 to 240% on HP. So with the high HP, and especially we've got random final boss. So I like to run black belt here because I want to be able to have my offense dialed up as quickly as possible. Now, this fighter that we're seeing here is one of the few things that might be an exception to that. Uh, so we've got the steel armor cast fast. So if you're not familiar with that, that means if you find steel armor, which you should be able to find in a shop somewhere, and your fighter is equipped with it, fast is automatically on for that fighter. And then plus 20 hit percent. So really tough to pass up this fighter. And then to go with that fighter, because we're only starting with 2 characters, we're going to pick up others along the way if we'd like. I want probably a black mage, but I'm also going to look at the red mage. So just one quick note here. I didn't see us check the blessings on the other classes. So it would have been interesting to see, what our other parties had, or other characters had. We're starting out. We're going to check the hint, and that's really good to know where the rod is. The rod is in Cardia. And we do have a sweeper. We've got ice too. Checking the weapons shop. We've got a couple decent early game weapons, but nothing that we've got enough money for early. Or was it 2 forced? Okay, so then that may be. I couldn't remember if these were 2 forced parties or not. Out of the first town in under 40 seconds. To me, 35 to 40 seconds is where I want to be. Now, in free enterprise, these couple chests, I'm not a huge fan of checking them. I mean, that ice shield plus 5 is really nice, but if I'm gonna go check extra chests, I want to go to places where there's a lot of chest density. I'd probably also go out and save before this fight. Garland does have quite a bit more HP than usual. And while you shouldn't have any problem getting through, if Garland had had something, not so nice, you're going to lose what you got out of those chests there. We've got bottle and we've got the herb. So I'm just going to pause for a moment. What I like to do at this point in free enterprise, since I've got, access to pretty much everything, is I'm going to do all of my free checks. That's now the sages, Sarda. We just got the bottle. I'm going to go trade that in. We just got the herb, so I'm going to go see the prince. We know where the rod is. I'd like to go get that. When you really think about free enterprise, we only need 6 items to finish the game. There's 25 incentivized locations. So I want to find those 6 items, rod, oxyel, chime, cube, key, and loot, as quickly as possible. And so it looks like that's exactly what we're doing. We're heading right down to the sages. So I like this as a start. Make sure we check the item shop. Maybe we run into the vendor item along the way. Yeah, we can look at the level 6 magic. Not likely to be very useful, but we typically don't build up enough spell charges. So that Vorpal -3, not terribly helpful, but we can sell that, get some early money if we need it. And next logical place, so it looks like I would go over to Sarda. So this routing, makes a lot of sense early on. All right, we've got our key, and I like that for a couple of reasons. One, we can now add Canaria Castle to our free checks. And eventually, if we decide to make a trip into Marsh, we'll be able to get both Marsh locations in one trip. Now, early in a seed, I'd probably open all 6 of these boxes. If I've got the fighter, I want the money. Silver bracelet's nice for the black mage. XP, and there's the Oxiel. So we've got the Oxiel. We've already gotten the hint for the rod. So we know where 2 of our 6 items that we need to finish are. Oh no, I'm sorry, we already got the key. So we've got half the items. At this point, we need the chime, cube, and loot. More XP, that's going to be really good here also. We knew this was our rod, so we've got that. Alright, from here I'd probably go either straight north and turn the urban or head over to the bottle. This kind of check, again, it's not a bad check, but it is a little time consuming for what you are going to get out of it, especially because we've got elite gear in stores. If I were to go check a cave like that, I'm going to save before I go in. That way, if I get nothing out of it, I can just reset right out to the airship. And so that's a perfect example. That's 6,000 gold, not something you really need. So if you saved in the air, you see it's just money, you immediately reset, and you're back without having to walk it out. All right, no vendor item, but we checked, and you just walked right by your hint giver, so don't forget to check them. You got the first couple, but we missed that one. We knew that was the crown, so that's good. We can now head down and trade in that, trade in the herb. At some point we'll want to check the pirates, but pirates are buffed here, so with only ice 2, we probably should go into Provoca to see what the spells are. So this, again, makes a lot of sense. Alright, Fire 3 and Lit 3. One thing to consider, I notice you're not checking the white magic shops, and that's fine. But you certainly could in case you decide to add, a white mage or a red mage later, or even for promotion of your fighter. That Flame Sword +2 is definitely an improvement on what you have right now. That might have been worth picking up. It was only about 1/8 of the gold you had. good to pick up some tents or some houses. Take a shot at the pirates. Why not? Except that we did all our shopping we haven't saved. And that's what you just realized. So, little unfortunate, but not too horrendous. You know, it's probably about 30 seconds because you know exactly what you're going back for at this point. So what do you do for tracking? All right. So what you probably should have done here, you have that mage staff, and you could see that these pirates have a little less than 200 HP. They're not hitting your fighter real hard. So a couple uses of that mage staff, and you probably would have gotten through this fight. I mean, you still might. Yeah. So for tracking, um, I do everything on paper. I make a list of all the incentive locations, check them off as I go. I make any notes, from hint givers. So I found it's a lot faster than using one of the other trackers. But just, something to keep track of those key points. All right, XCal, you've got your endgame weapon. Taking a thief. So the thief is an interesting choice here. It's definitely not a need because, the lock picking is on, but you already found your key. So there's a couple lines of thinking to me. Maybe you're going to use it as a secondary melee. Maybe you want it as a meat shield. Or it could just be that you're going to take something else eventually, and so you're starting to level up a character that you can eventually replace. Fast and warp, both being at level 4 is, and there, that was your hint giver again, right next to the level 4 black shop. I like thieves in a lot of seeds. So we got our vendor TNT, that's good. But in free enterprise, that's probably the least useful flag set for a thief because I like a thief so I can run. And in this flag set, the only encounters you're going to get are what you run into on trap tiles. So it's a very, very small number of encounters you're going to run into. I often want, for this kind of flag set, my primary melee and then, multiple spellcasters. So again, I want to save before I go into a location like this. I mean, I know I'm only going to have 2 encounters, the 2 trap tiles before the 2 incentive chests. But, if one of those rolls something ugly, it's going to cost me time to go back. Again, this is another spot where having that mage stick would, or using that mage stick would be very helpful. I'm guessing you took this fight because the thief was still at level 1, and, you wanted to get him some levels. Okay, that makes sense. But otherwise, I wouldn't have taken that that fight at all. So you've got your loot. You're down to 2 items that you need, Chime and Cube. And I would imagine we're going to go trade in the TNT. No, not yet. Alright, level 5 nuke. Good, you checked the hint giver. Not a terribly useful hint giver, but key thing is that you checked it. Alright, so a trap tile check in Earth so that you can find somewhere to level up is never a bad idea, because you're going to need to get some levels somewhere. Unfortunately, both of these tiles are pretty terrible. Alright, well, you've remembered now about the items here. So you forgot just for a few minutes. But again, this fight doesn't get you a whole lot of XP. I mean, the XP is ramped up pretty good in this flag set, so it seems like it, but that's not really a fight that you want to take. While you were in Earth, you might have wanted to have checked there's a 3rd trap tile that you can check. And I'm guessing we're going to see another attempt at the pirates. Yeah, got our level 2 magic back. So the biggest thing I've got to say so far is, and I know with free enterprise it doesn't matter as much, but please save more often. Well, we're gonna go, looks like, no, we've changed our mind on Earth. Alright, I like changing our mind there. I'd prefer to wait until we've gotten promoted so we can equip that XCal. Mine is in a million places. Yeah, with free enterprise that happens, because you can literally go anywhere. So it's really, really easy for that to happen. Now heading down to Lich right now, even with the extra HP should be fine. Definitely would not head over to these chests. These are really far out of the way. And again, it's always a question of what's your reward here. If you feel like you need to check chests for additional items, in a seed that's this quick, there's definitely better places. The Dwarf Cave, you've got a whole bunch of free chests down there. Volcano, Sky, all have a lot higher chest density. if you're doing it for this tile is also on Earth 1. And so definitely a better place to find it. You know, both north as well as south from start. You usually want the room to the south has this same tile. Again, in free enterprise, it doesn't make a huge difference because getting back out's not a problem. You know, if you've got encounters on, then getting out, is a concern. Here, it's just a matter of a lot of extra steps to get down there. So that tile's a little bit better than the two that you had above, but it's still not a tile that I like very much. So I probably wouldn't have taken those. Or maybe just for a couple levels. Yeah, so this room, in terms of the chests, it's pretty far out of the way. Now, for a full party grind, this is a nice tile. The biggest difficulty with it is it can be resource heavy. With that mage staff, it's not going to be too bad, but this is a much better tile. The biggest challenge is, you want to make this a single dive, and so you don't want to use up too many of your resources before getting to the end. And you're at level 20, I wouldn't go any further. Even with the increased HP on bosses, you're not going to need a lot. If you're going to stick with the fighter, you don't really need a lot more levels. So I'd probably, maybe one more fight. But I'd want to get moving after that. Because by the time you get out of here, you're level 20 on all three characters. Definitely strong enough to go take a shot at Bahamut, which gives you your X-Cal. Yeah, I mean, if you take a few more minutes here, it's going to make your end game very, very, very safe. Now, you probably could be using some of those fire 3s on this fight as well. Oh, there you just did, because I was going to say, you've got a couple nukes to save for the boss here. But level 21, 22, definitely get going. Yeah, and just in general, if I'm running a fighter party, um, stationary grind is something I almost always try to avoid. Black belt party is almost always gonna do a stationary grind. But with the fighter party, that's where you try to make up the time because you don't need to grind so high. Um, you're trying to save time from that. Just you could warp back to the stairs here. That would save you a few seconds. But with the fighter party, stationary grind uh, takes away one of the advantages that the fighter party can have over a black belt party. The black belt party loses time on a stationary grind, but makes up a lot of time because you're not opening chests and uh, because boss fights are often 1 or 2 rounds. So if you're taking a stationary grind with the fighter, you definitely give a lot of that time back. So fasting the fighter, that's fine. You also could have gone nuke here to start. The nuke would probably do more damage than the fast is doing. The other thing I'd probably be doing is I'd probably be looking, every time I went into a town for that steel armor. Having that steel armor that automatically casts fast is incredibly strong. Defense +5 is another decent weapon, but even nicer, in fact, the fact that it casts ruse. It automatically casts fast. So I'm trying to remember, was this the actual async seed, or was this just one you rolled from this flag set? Because the seed is starting to look familiar in certain spots. Okay, I thought so. So I did something a little odd in this flag set. After you finished Earth Cave, you noticed, I don't know if you noticed, there was another fighter there that you could have picked up. With the steel armor casting fast, I actually ran double fighter, which is a really odd party to run. Um, but having them both automatically casting fast with the weapons that are available just meant I could plow through everything. And I did play this seed, but I have no idea where I took my grind in this seed. I think I stuck with the 2 fighters all the way to the end. Alright, so you've got Warp. So Ice Cave it's not a bad play. What I would want to do first, though, is you've got some free trade-ins. You've got, I mean, not Astos isn't free, but your levels are high enough. You shouldn't have any problem with Astos. Having Nuke, again, the pirates should not be a problem at this point. So that Rue Staff, definitely not great. I might even reset out of that because you've already got the Defense Sword. If you're gonna keep it, I'd put one of them on the thief and one on the fighter, which it looks like that's exactly what you did. So that's good. You've also got, you picked up that ruby, so you've got a free trade in Titans, or a free, item out of Titans. I also think you're probably more than strong enough to go take out Bahamut, so that might be something you want to consider here, because that's going to give you a major upgrade on your weapons. Yeah, I wouldn't take this fight either. Because first of all, you're already over leveled. So one thing to keep in mind with Volcano, um, I don't know the list off the top of my head, but there's a lot of repeats of trap tiles. Yeah, so Volcano, there's a number of repeats of trap tiles, and so you can get the two on this floor, that first one you checked, and then in the room with all the chests, you can get the other one. Otherwise, you're just going to see a repeat of this tile over and over again. Well, I definitely expect Temple of Fiends is going to be pretty easy at these levels. Now here is a terrific tile. Especially you've got Nuke. They hit hard, but they're worth a ton of XP. But definitely use the nukes here. Pretty good with the menuing speed there. Alright, good. You remember the nukes? Pretty beefy iron goal. 360 didn't take it down. But this is another good example of why going to Bahamut would have been very, very useful. If you've got that X-Cal and the defense equipped at this point, you're going to do a lot more damage to these guys a lot faster. Again, you're way over leveled. So just a good thing to note here. You're definitely saving more often, which is good. But those houses you bought and then had to reset out of, you never went back and got those, and you spend a lot of time, flying back and forth to towns so you can save. All right, we got some more iron goals. So in terms of grinding, if you had a black belt, this is one of those tiles that can be a terrific black belt grind, but it's also a very dangerous grind because they can hit very, very hard. But in terms of XP, as you see, the XP on this is terrific. And so if you can ever get a black belt grind going on these, if you think about it, one of these, if you have a solo black belt going, is going to get you 15k. Actually, even more than that for a single black belt. All right, level 30 across the board. Definitely ready for anything you're going to run into here. So this is actually a really good adjustment you're making here. We get in such a habit of walking on the damage tiles because those don't give us any encounters, or don't advance the encounter table. But here, we don't have any encounters. And for a lot of runners, it's really hard to make that adjustment of walking on the normal tiles. And it's really a good idea because it'll save you healing time when you get down here. So again, good XP on this, decent XP on this fight, but definitely don't need it. If you're going to take it though, use the nukes. At level 30, you've got a ton of them. No reason not to, and it'll speed the fight up. All right, chime. So cube away from go mode. So I'd probably fast the fighter here. I believe the fighter currently has the better weapon, plus has that extra 20 hit percent. Never mind seeing Cure 2 on these guys. And from here, yeah, it should just be fight, and nuke. And you're so high leveled at this point that there's pretty much nothing scary that's going to come from this fight. Cure 3 is annoying, but that's about it. Yeah, definitely. And this is why, also why, again, I know I've said this two or three times before, but why promoting would have been good first, because you'd be hitting for a lot more damage. So didn't take the white mage. That's understandable. So we just need the cube now, and we've got so just subtle point, faster to, if you've got the airship, faster to enter Titans from the other side. Won't cost you a ton of time here since you can just warp back out. You've got your cube. Um, Make sure you warp out here. So for me at this point, I'm done opening chests. I'm done checking incentive locations. This is go into sea, kill whoever's in Kraken spot. Go into sky, kill whoever's in Tia spot. And we're all done. So normally I would never check level 7 magic. It's rare you're going to have enough charges for it to be useful. With your levels, it's entirely possible you could, but again, you haven't promoted yet. So with the on-rack, if you can, you want to single dip that continent. With free enterprise, it's not a huge time loss, but I would have wanted to, I wouldn't have wanted to go up to on-rack and then come all the way back to Bahamut to then have to go back to on-rack. I'm not sure if you did that because you thought you needed to save or heal first, but you had picked up a house in Volcano. So you would have been fine not having to go save first, because you could have done it right outside Bahamut. And this Bahamut, if I remember correctly, was kind of a pain to deal with. Again, at your levels, you shouldn't have any problem. Well, maybe not if he hits like that. Alright, you got through. Yeah, so that X-Cal, unless something rolls legendary weapons, the only one who can equip the X-Cal is the Knight. But the Thief could equip, the Ninja could equip that Defense +5. Yeah, not double dipping in towns is one of those things. It just takes, it's just practice at getting used to what's available in each town. And I think one of the big things is always when you go into a town, know exactly what you're going there for. And that that'll make you more efficient. There's some little things here that are, kind of just stepwise not the most efficient. Again, in free enterprise, they don't matter because you don't have any encounters. But just something to keep in mind when you get back to, other flag sets. Just kind of watch the paths you're taking through some of these dungeons. And now we just realized we never resurrected the fighter. I'd probably want to ruse the ninja just to make sure he doesn't take hits like that. Just another small point. I like to, whatever the ruse item I have is, I want that in the first slot so that it's less menuing to use it. You got fortunate that Black Knight didn't have a lot of HP. Now, the Red Mage was there, and you've got that fourth slot. I probably would have added a Red Mage. And I would have added it for one reason. Given how high the XP is in these flags, it's not going to take a lot to get, it may only take a couple fights to get that Red Mage to a point where they can cast something like Fire 3, which is, level 2. And the reason I bring this up is we've got random final boss on, and we have no idea what, that random final boss is going to be. The random final bosses that scare me the most, though, of course, are the Warmech Evil Men and the Lich Phantoms. And if I've got those, I want to be able to get, nukes, Fire 3s, any of that stuff off round 1 to try and clear out as much of that stuff as possible. And so having an extra spellcaster can be really, really helpful for that. No, wait, Nuke was level 5, so yeah, that wouldn't have... Probably not likely to get there with the Red Mage, but the Fire 3 on the Red Mage, which is level 2, could be really, really helpful if those Phantoms show up. And it can be useful for that as well. I've certainly done that, especially coming out of whatever my 4th Fiend is. Sometimes I'll just take whatever the character is there and throw them in front so that they can die. So you skipped the incentive in C, which was good. There was no need to go all the way down to mermaids to check for an item that's not needed. This fight doesn't... No reason to take this fight. The incentive item in Sky, I would definitely grab that. It's not out of the way at all, and if it's a power gauntlet or a ribbon, those are both going to help you a lot. Yeah, so those couple extra steps to pick up a ribbon. Although I am curious, why choose to put the ribbon on the ninja and not on the fighter? Okay, that could be. With the way you've got the weapons and everything lined up, I'm expecting the fighter is going to be the main carry here. So I would have put the ribbon on the fighter. So yeah, that Vorpal's unfortunately, a pretty bad weapon. It rolled -3. Um, I I probably would have put the defense +5 on the thief. So I would go with fast over lock or temper to start. But this fight, given how strong you are, shouldn't be any problem. So another thing I was going to say, along with I'd mentioned a while ago, I track on paper. I make a list of all my key item locations. Another thing I'll put down on that sheet will be any key blursings, because that steel armor one here for the fighter is such a good one that you definitely don't want to forget about that one. And I forget where the steel armor was available in this seed, but that one is so good. All right, not expecting you to run into anything. Yeah, that massive +4, pretty nice. So if we thought Temple of Fiends was going to be easy before that, it shouldn't be much that's going to give you any trouble here. I don't mind not putting it on the ninja. Again, I just would want something other than that Vorpal on the ninja. If the Vorpal rolls up, it's okay, but a Vorpal that rolls negative is good for selling. And again, I'd go with fast over temper, but your party's so overpowered it honestly won't make a difference. I would never have the Black Mage swing in that situation, either fast or temper, or you've got plenty of nukes as well. As we get to this last fight, with the random final boss, this is why I like to have 2 or even 3 spellcasters, because I want to get a lot off first turn, depending on what final boss I get. This one's, at least in this seed, is pretty tame. Both of those Black Knights we saw didn't seem to have much of anything. So at this point, I'm not real worried about much of anything. The first turn nuke is definitely what you want. You want to kill off all those other enemies. But this fight's pretty much over at this point. Alright, and that's it. So, overall, well done. As we said, definite places to look at, the double dipping of towns, and just sort of having a plan going into the seed. Definitely some spots where if you had a better idea of what you wanted to do going into towns or going into different dungeons, will save you a lot of time. And then, level 40 plus is great for a black belt, but your fighter doesn't need anywhere near that kind of leveling in a seed like this. So, hope this was helpful tonight. Feel free to reach out if you've got any questions. 51 chests, I would say, is a lot of chests for a free enterprise seed. This one was a little odd because you never found a black belt, and from what I remember, I don't know that there was a black belt to find in this seed. But I think, most free enterprise seeds, I'm going to come in around 15 to 20 chests for the whole seed. Unless something really unusual happens that I need a bunch of money early on. I think this seed I ended up having to open a bunch of chests because I found the steel armor relatively early. I want to say it was either in Melmond or Canaria. But I played this seed, the seed is about, I don't know, a month ago that I played this, 3-4 weeks ago, so memory's a little fuzzy on that one. But I remember going out and searching money so I could buy 2 steel armors because I did grab a second fighter. But yeah, that's everything I've got tonight, so I'm gonna sign off, and thanks for watching, and any questions, just feel free to reach out.